a once thriving African-American business district in the 1900s, now stands to benefit an entire community. Learn about the past and future of Rocky Mount's Douglas Block next on Black Issues Forum.
Quality public television is made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC TV.
Hello everyone, welcome to Black Issues Forum. I'm Deborah Holt-Noel. During the mid-1900s, a section of Rocky Mount's downtown area bustled with black business and society. But with the end of segregation also came the dissolution and demise of areas like this. Today, following years of hard work and strategic fundraising, a multi-million-dollar facelift has made this area called the Douglas Block the heart of an exciting commercial and residential development filled with economic potential. In a moment, we're going to talk to people about how this project came together and its future plans as we talk to today's guests. But right now, Heather Burgess brings us this background feature about the Douglas Block.
It might be hard to imagine now, but in the early to mid-1900s, this street, with rows of buildings, served as a hub of activity for the African American community in Rocky Mount.
A typical Saturday during the fall, there would be so many people in the area that it was very difficult to walk or sometimes even to drive through the area because it was a place of fellowship, a place of meeting and greetings.
They had no other places to go, so the block held everything that was needed.
Renovations are underway on 6 historic buildings that served as theaters, doctors, and business offices through the years.
That street was the place that you went to your dentist, you went to your family doctor, you went to your hairdresser.
The Douglas Block gets its name from the Douglas Building, a building which served as a catalyst for this block becoming the African American Business District during segregation.
After integration started, the building started to decline. But prior to that time, everything that happened in the black community, any trades, any purchases, doctors, lawyers, funeral homes, all that occurred on the Douglas Block.
Now a new public-private redevelopment project aims to restore these buildings back to their glory and recreate that entrepreneurial vibe in downtown Rocky Mount.
Our council, for the past 5 years, has emphasized the need to revitalize the center city. And we like to say the center city is actually the living room of our community. And in Rocky Mount in particular is where Nash and Edgecombe counties come together because the railroad track is the dividing line. And so our council has committed to bringing downtown back and breathing life back into the downtown area. And the Douglas Block project is a good anchor and a good jumping off point to that revitalization effort.
City leaders say this $8 million project is funded with a combination of new and historic tax credits, grants, HUD loan, and public investment.
Funding is always a challenge for a project like this. And we had renovated the old Imperial Tobacco Processing Plant, finished that at the end of 2005. And so we decided to use the same model that we used for that to fund the Douglas Block project.
Whatever they put there to improve the situation for all our benefits, that'll be great.
The renovations are personal to Irma Bullock Wilkins, whose father, Dr. G.W. Bullock, owned buildings and practiced medicine on the block.
It's great to see it going on, and I hope they can fill all those buildings.
Based on recent interest, city leaders say they are optimistic about filling the buildings. They say the project will boost the commercial district by bringing in new business, jobs, and people to live in downtown Rocky Mount.
It's a mixed-use project In the Douglas building, we have 6 bays in the building on the first floor, which will be commercial, retail, office. And on the second floor, what we have 5 loft apartments, and they range from 670 square feet to a little bit over 900 square feet.
And people living in those lofts or visiting downtown will have access to a variety of businesses and amenities.
2 blocks from the Douglas building, we have Edgecombe Community College, and about 1,200 students come to that campus. We're going to have new sidewalks, new street furniture, new lighting. With all of that being in the project, we can see people sitting outside, street trees, enjoying the nice fall day, nice spring day, being able to use their laptops.
The shining star of the Douglas block is the Booker T Theater, a beautiful Greek Revival design that will create a place for gatherings and entertainment in the community.
It was built in the early 1900s, and it will seat about 300 people. We took the sloped floor out.
New framing in the ceiling. We've also got a light grid system that's going to go in.
Many say these plans for revitalization can be considered a blueprint for economic change and sustaining a social landscape that would have been all but lost.
The legacy of it would be great to share with the younger people, just to reflect on all the good things that have gone on in the past and to think about what could happen in that area to pull people together again.
And the feature you just saw was part of UNC-TV's Blueprint North Carolina project, funded by a grant from the Rockefeller Foundation. Right now, we're going to learn more about the past and future of the Douglas block with today's guests. I'd like to welcome Charles Penny, City Manager of Rocky Mount, Joyce Dickens, President of the Rocky Mount Edgecombe Community Development Corporation and Chairwoman of the North Carolina Association of Community Development Corporations, and Peter Varney, Assistant City Manager of Rocky Mount. Once again, welcome to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
What must it feel like, Joyce, to see this project at the stage that it is now?
To see the project where it is now is very exciting, and it's very gratifying, because we've been working on this project and hoping for it for the last 20 years. And to see it materialize just shows what hard work can do. Hard work, partnership, and the coming together of a community, the City Council, the Community Development Corporation, the general public, and it can happen. Projects can happen if you work together.
Charles, how does it feel?
Well, it's exciting, as Joyce said, and you get a lot of criticism when you take on a project like this, but you have to continue to push through, and our mayor and city council had the intestinal fortitude to push forward, because they know that it's important to breathing life back into the downtown, and to actually work on this project for about 5 years for me, and then to see, I'm going to say the finished product, but the project's not finished. It's the beginning of the project. It gives me a lot of comfort. But it's a good jumping off point for our community, and it's a great place for our community to come together.
And the project's not complete, but I want to take just a moment to show where it has come from. We have a before picture that we're going to show you, and this is the project as it stands today. Peter, how many dollars have gone into this project's development?
There's a total of about $8 million was involved in the project, and we had to pull together money from various sources in order to get that done. We used New Markets tax credits financing, historic preservation tax credit financing. We had a loan from Section 108 of the city's community development block grant funding. We had some city funds in it, and we had a grant from HUD, a Brownfield Economic Development Initiative grant. All of those sources added up to about $8 million.
That's a lot of different entities working together. And for those out there who are interested in redevelopment, taking a vacant building or even a historic building and converting it into something that you can use today, talk about the importance of all of these different partners coming together in the network, Peter.
Well, it is very important to do that, particularly with the tax credit financing. The tax credit financing requires that it look like or appear to be a privately done project, not a city-initiated project. The municipalities do not qualify for tax credits because we don't pay state or federal income taxes. And so we had to create a partnership, a for-profit partnership that would qualify for those. So right at the very beginning, that you have to be able to form these partnerships. And we did. We had the Rocky Mountain Edgecombe Community Development Corporation come in as a general partner in this partnership, and we were able to get U.S. Bank to come in as the limited partner with financing for the project.
Joyce, you said that this project has been 20 years in the making.
Yes. For our organization, but I would think from the community that it has been a lot more than 20 years because the community was waiting for something to happen on Douglas Block. But in 1994, the Rocky Mountain Edgecombe Community Development Corporation completed a strategic plan for all the projects that we wanted to do in Rocky Mount, and Douglas Block was one of them. And then in 2003, the city completed a comprehensive plan that included Douglas Block. And in 2005, we completed a redevelopment plan. And so it's been in the planning process since 1994. The good thing about Rocky Mount and the CDC is that we do plans, but they don't sit on the shelf. So we've been successful since the existence of the CDC and our work with the city in making projects come to reality, and Douglas Block is one of them.
Sometimes it takes time.
Yes, it takes a lot of time. Takes a lot of time.
Deborah, Joyce mentioned the redevelopment plan, and the redevelopment plan involved citizens. And it was very exciting to sit in the meetings in council chambers and to hear the people that were from Rocky Mount, and they began to reminisce about the days when they used to go to the Douglas Block and when June German occurred. And at the time of segregation, there was a African-American June German and a white June German. And the June German for African-Americans occurred on the Douglas Block.
What's a June German?
It was a dance, a celebration, and it was usually in the fall. And so you bring in a jazz band, and one night they would play for the white June German, and next night they played for the black June German. So it was a good celebration of jazz and fun and food, and it was a regional celebration also.
But you could just feel the enthusiasm in the room when they would start to reminisce about things that they would do on the Douglas Block. And so to see this project come to fruition for us as partners, and then for the citizens, as the interviews that we heard earlier, is really amazing. And to have people, as in the opening, when people were able to walk through the buildings, and to have the Douglas family sitting there looking at that building, and then to take them into the Booker T Theater where we actually showed movies. The only African-American theater in North Carolina that has been renovated so that you can actually show a movie. And so we had a great opening with the viewing of Remember the Titans. Herman Boone is a native of Rocky Mount, and he was there with his family, and he brought 3 of the original Titans to the movie, Black Tie Affair. And then we had 2 other movies the next afternoon. It couldn't be Remember the Titans, but to have people come and remember the last time they saw a movie in the Booker T Theater was just really exciting.
You talked a little bit about the 2 communities with the celebration of this event. How has this project bridged communities in Rocky Mount? Joyce?
The grand opening of the Booker T Theater and the grand opening for Douglas Block was a blend. It was the total community coming together to celebrate. And I think that the usage of the Booker T Theater across racial lines has brought people together. And so I see it as a healing point. One of the things that, and you're familiar with Herman Boone, the Remember the Titans?
Yes.
At the grand opening, he said something that really touched my heart. And he talked about when he was growing up in Rocky Mount, and when you came to Douglas Block on Saturday, you could be a whole person. Because when you crossed the track, in those days, you had to become somebody else. You couldn't look a white person in the eye. You had to lower your head. And so Douglas Block has a strong cultural and historic presence for the people that you saw interviewed. And so it rang in my heart that now everybody can come to Douglas Block and raise their head.
How is the history, Peter, being preserved in the building?
The history is being preserved by trying to be true to the buildings, trying to reproduce the colors, for example, that you saw, the original colors. One of the interesting things about colors was there was apparently a lot of green that was used, green color that was used throughout the interiors of the buildings, and so a lot of what we have tried to do is replace that color so that that green theme is still there, because that's historically what it was. The Booker T Theater is so beautifully restored, both on the inside and the outside. We retained the original wood flooring, the original windows, and even did in the entryway. There's a carved piece of wood on both sides of the entryway. One of those had been lost through the years, and so we replaced that even to replicate what was there before. Tried to pay attention to the details of the features or the aspects of the building that were there.
Peter, with $8 million invested in this, clearly there had to be many jobs that came out of this through the construction, and then many more jobs to come. How many jobs do you think this project has generated so far, and what's the projection of jobs coming?
The number of construction jobs we had, I think, totaled around 80 to 85 jobs when you factor in the subcontractors that were involved, as well as the general contractors' employees. And the jobs that we have from the leases that are signed up so far are around 20 jobs. But we think when all of the spaces are finally occupied, it should be around 50, at least 50 jobs that would be created, 50 full-time type jobs created as a result of the project.
Wonderful. That's good news in today's time.
It is good news.
Very good news.
Charles, what kinds of businesses are you looking to bring in still?
Well, we wanted to replicate some of the businesses that were historically there. So we were fortunate to be able to create a medical pavilion, for one. We have a pediatrician that is going to open up as soon as we finish the outfit. And we have space for another physician, so we're putting a plug in on your show for a physician to go in to go in the rest of the pavilion, and we'll do the outfit. We'd love to have a general practitioner to operate on that block, and then we have some attorneys, and just like I said, you could go down to the Douglas block. We've already had the attorney's office open. Then we have a subway. Which is taken to the bays in the Douglas building, and then we have a computer person, and then we have a antique furniture store that's going to go in, and then we have some other food products that are going to go in, and we want to put a plug in. We have a building called the Thorpe Building, which is 4,000 square feet, and we have that set up for a restaurant. And so we're looking for a restaurateur to go into that facility and possibly mixing a couple of restaurant folks that could make that a thriving business on the block. You could do everything on the Douglas block, and we want to bring it back to that same place.
That's wonderful. And keeping in mind the African American history and heritage of this area, was there consideration given to making sure that minority contractors were included in the opportunity for construction?
Well, actually, in any of our public construction projects, there's a requirement by law that African American, minority contractors have an opportunity to bid, and there has to be a best faith effort. And in this case, we were fortunate to have, I'm not sure the percentage, normally you're trying to get in the 10 to 15% range to ensure that folks have an opportunity to bid. And we had actually the prime contractor is minority owned, was female owned business. And one of the subs that played a very instrumental part in restoring the history is an African American gentleman from Franklin County who the dying art of plastering. And if you look through the building, he had the prime responsibility to make the Booker T Theater look original. And you'd go in there and see all these guys up there doing plastering work, or go into the Burnett building, and you still see that as well.
And the plastering isn't just plain flat wall plastering. It's cove work. There's some art to it.
Well, people are going to have to visit the Booker T Theater in order to see the interior. We do have available. We want to show people the exterior because it's so exciting. It just looks exciting, and that things are coming. I know that there are already some plays. By the time our audience gets to see this, they need to check on your website and see what other programs are coming. What would you say, Joyce, has been the biggest lesson learned in terms of what partners needed to be involved, and talking also about naysayers?
Well, for me, I think the city can speak more of naysayers because I didn't experience that. The biggest lesson learned was the lesson of time, that it takes time to produce these type of projects. It takes partners, and as Peter talked about the financing, it took time to structure the deal, confirm the financing, and each piece had a different set of regulations that you had to follow. And so, for me, the biggest lesson learned was whatever you're doing, take time to do your due diligence. Take time to do your research, and then realize that nothing happens overnight. Construction doesn't, financial packaging doesn't. The one thing I wanted to add, however, is the whole concept of the block. Charles mentioned replicating the businesses, but now the feel of having a place that you can go and be entertained at the Booker T, have a good meal, do some shopping, right in your own community. It's a good cultural tourism, economic development tool. Because in our area, we're losing jobs with tobacco, with industries, with textile. But if you can build up your own community based on your own history, then that's a firm economic development strategy to respond to the economic recession.
Now, one thing that people can become concerned with is the cost to be a part of a project like this. And Peter, I want to ask you about the affordability of the spaces for businesses and affordability of the residential spaces as well.
Yeah, the rent rates for the commercial spaces are around $11 a square foot, and that's competitive. That's comparable to what we see in the downtown area. But you have to remember, this is brand new space, totally renovated space. So it's a low rate compared to the going. The going rate is for space that has been upfit maybe 5 years or 10 years ago. So it's a really good rate. And the residential apartments, the rent ranges from what, 400 to
the lowest
600?
Is $385 for the smallest apartment, and it goes to about $550 based on the size of the unit.
Yeah. But Deborah, I think you have to remember, for our downtown, we are actually trying to grow that market, and so the rates may seem a little bit low, but in trying to overcome perceptions of what downtown is and to get people back into the downtown area, one, financially, we have to make it attractive to get people to come back to the area. And once that market is developed, and when people come in and see those apartments, we have people that have lived in New York and in D.C., and they walk through those apartments, and I say, okay, tell me what this would rent for. And they're like, $1,500 to $2,000 a month. So it's got a great feel, and to bring downtown back, you're going to see people living in the downtown area. We had a study done by some students from North Carolina A&T, and what they talked about doing was getting at about 1,000 people living in the downtown area. And if you look around the state, Asheville, Raleigh, and the places that have done downtown redevelopment well, the residential component is very important to bringing downtowns back. And so we're doing that. Ms. Dickens has some residential housing in Harambe Square. And so it's not new to downtown Rocky Mount, but we're trying to bring a mixture of incomes to the downtown area as well.
And this is a place that was ravaged not so long ago by the weather. storms.
Talking about 1999.
Right.
Yeah.
Hurricane Floyd.
It's either before the flood or after the flood. and we've done well, but we have some things to do. And right now, we talked about it coming to your show that we are doing some strategic visioning and strategic planning for our community. Joyce talked about a plan that we've been working since 1994, and now we have to make sure that we can pivot in our community to ensure that we have a thriving economy, a thriving housing market, and making our community a community of choice, to get people to see that we sit in a great location on I-95 and US 64. It's a great place to do business. It's a great place to raise children. And Rocky Mount has a history.
That's wonderful.
Of entrepreneurship. And we're not going to lose that. And this project just
really seals it all.
Shouts out at you.
Yes. And we're going to have to cut you right there because there's just so much excitement that's happening around the project. And congratulations to all three of you on your work, Charles, Peter, and Joyce. Thank you for coming. For more information about today's program and guests, visit us online at unctv.org/BIF. You'll find links to email us your comments and join us as fans of BIF on Facebook. Or you can call us on the BIF line at 919-549-7167. Be sure to meet us right back here each Sunday afternoon at 4:30 for Black Issues Forum. I'm Deborah Holt Noel. Thank you for spending your time with us.
Quality public television is made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC TV.